Late on Friday night, we arrived in a foggy Deloraine, headed straight into the Empire Hotel to catch up with one of the distinguished legends and one of the young guns of the Deloraine Football Club.
I think I should go for a poo before I do it.
George Young, having played 365 games between 1960 and 1980, is a living legend in footy around Deloraine. And Craig Lovell's played senior footy for the last 8 years, and this year he's coaching the reserves. A very passionate and fired up man about his footy.
Now that you're coach, Craig, you can't spend all night Friday night in the bar?
No, obviously not. Never used to do that as a player either, mind you, but apart from back in the early days when you're playing in the under-18s, you used to come and give her a touch along of a Friday night, but the senior coaches that I've had in the past, Stephen Goulding and co, soon straighten that out of you. You either stay straight of a Friday night or you don't get a game, so yeah, they've sorted that out pretty well.
How tall are you, George?
Just under 6 foot. I don't know what it is metric.
What position did you play most of your footy in?
I played in the ruck. Yeah.
You must have had a big leap.
Yeah, it got shorter. Yeah.
Now, you told me a story that after a few years in the ruck, you came off a bit worse for wear. And tell us that story. What did your dad say to you?
He told me I've got to learn to look after myself. And I thought, all right, I just think about these things, and old man's been around a while. So first up, best dressed, and get into them to start with.
So you changed your approach?
I did, yeah. Yeah, some of those old ruckmen, they can be fairly cruel. So you keep your knee tucked up and hope it lands in the right place.
If you get physical and you get in hard and close and win the close contest, you'll beat Launceston?
I think that's the key to it tomorrow. Launceston are a fairly big side and a strong side, and probably like to get in and intimidate sides physically. So if Deloraine can pride themselves at being harder at the ball tomorrow, hopefully we can come away with the points.
Delorane's been rated as the hardest, toughest side in the NTFL at the moment. Has it always been that way?
Oh, I suppose most rural communities are, they're not too delicate, you know. They'll mix her up a bit.
You used to like mixing it up with Westbury, I believe.
Oh yeah, Westbury was always the top side. They were always worth playing against. Great side they had, and it's a pity that they've ever folded. Yeah. But,
So you had some big clashes there?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Any all-ins?
All-ins, yeah, everything in. Boots and all, yeah.
What do you love about footy?
I love the mateship, the passion of the game, and at times I'll probably get a bit wrapped up in the passion of the game, and I'm a bit of a fiery character myself, but I love the mates I play with. I love the mates I've made out of the game from other sides. I always love a beer with the boys after the game, whether it be the opposition, and I believe what happens on the ground should stay there. The passion, mate. It's just a fantastic game, greatest game on earth.
After the Empire, it was back to our classic accommodation at Arcuna. A quick game of snooker and then off to bed. But up bright and early the next morning and straight out of bed because I was very keen for my big day of footy at Deloraine. But of course, I didn't want to head to the footy without having a yummy breakfast at Arcuna first, and the chance to reflect over some of the best sports journalism in Tassie in Julian O'Brien's The Advocate. Then it was into our Pacific car rental van, that's 137271, and off to the streets of Deloraine.
I crawl back to the start, the good things there are mine. So come out for Lucy now, come out now, baby. Come out for Lucy.
Here we are in beautiful Deloraine, situated on the Meander River. Deloraine is famous for its sense of culture, hosting every year an annual drama festival, of which Football Life foreign correspondent John X has won 17 Best Actor awards out of 23 appearances, making him the Lisa McCune of Tasmanian entertainment. Deloraine is also famous for being one of the tidiest towns in Australia, having won the Tidy Towns Award in both 1996 and 1997. So let's find out if the town really is as tidy as people say. After leaving my little test, I decided to wait and see how long it would take a Deloraine person to pick up the rubbish and put it in the bin.
at the rolling, strolling vines. Brushes keep painting the shadow with the thudding fins echoing our moves are cruising kind of time. Midnight voices grinning with the sound of night quavers are swirling.
Have you ever littered?
My word, I have.
Where?
All over the place, but I'm very conscious of littering, so if I do litter, I'll often go back and pick it up again. That's how conscious we are of littering here in Deloraine.
So sometimes you're a bit forgetful and you let it drop, but then your conscience gets the better of you?
Oh yes, my word, that's the way we were brought up in this town. We are definitely a tidy town.
What's a fair punishment for someone who litters?
Oh, the stocks. The stocks, they're actually a set of stocks over on the Westbury Common. And we've got a bus here that goes over regularly and takes people over and puts them in the stocks. Oh, yeah.
What's the worst thing to throw on the ground?
Dog doos.
If your dog does a do you pick it up?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You'd be run out of town if you didn't.
Excuse me. When you poo on the pavement, does your owner clean it up? What about doggy do? Do people pick up their doggy do?
Not very often, no.
Do you think they should?
They should. I mean, everyone goes shopping. All they have to do is carry with them a sandwich bag and pick it up. They don't have to pick it up in their hands or anything, so there's no excuse really.
They'd want to eat their sandwich first.
Oh yes, definitely. I mean the shopping bags.
The time had come to head down to the ground and find out exactly why, in The Advocate, the Deloraine Football Club had been rated as the toughest in the NTFL.
No, I wouldn't say the hardest, but they've got a lot of young players that are hard at the ball and try hard, but I reckon Northern Bombers are the hardest because when they hit you, you know it when they hit you because they've got the skill to back it up as well.
Are you saying Deloraine are tryhards?
No, not tryhards, but yeah, they try hard. Good bunch of young fellas out here.
Is Deloraine the toughest side in the NTFL?
Yeah, sure they are.
Do they play the ball or do they play the man?
A bit of both, I think. They like to get out and get the man too.
What do you love most about footy?
Sometimes when they fight. Yeah, you got to see a good brawl.
Everything this last quarter at the Burston squares it up. Tuddle.
Oh no.
Tuddle in the hot spot.
On this occasion, Deloraine were going to be scrapping it out against Launceston, one of the oldest clubs in Tasmania. I caught up with Kerry Sanders to ask about the history of the club.
Formed in 1875, but probably started playing competitively in 1877, mainly against school teams on school grounds until North Launceston were formed, and also Longford and a club by the name of City, who are now South Launceston.
And North Launceston and the club formerly known as City have been your arch rivals ever since?
Oh, over those 100 years, yeah, definitely would have been, yes.
Been any great grand finals, melees, contests that you can recall?
I can only know by the history back in the early years. Apparently, City walked off in one grand final, and the grand final was awarded to Launceston back in the 30s. There's been some great clashes over through the 70s and the 80s between Launceston and North Launceston in particular.
When City walked off, was it like, I'm going to take my ball and go home?
I think it was a complaint against the umpires as usual.
One of the most important contests in the NTFL is the Queen Quest, and representing Deloraine is Courtney Heffernan. Now tell us, there's a special fundraising thing you're involved with. Tell us about that.
Yep. We've dubbed it Mow the Mullet because our president, Anthony Clayton, has an 80s hairstyle, I guess you could say. But he loves it, and if I can raise $1,000 for the club, it'll be shaved. And that's in a couple of weeks. And last night it was proposed that if I raise $2,000, or if the guys can raise $2,000, then my hair goes.
Are you going to do that?
I hope not.
This mob have got blokes out. We should be able to match them and run off. That's it. All right?
After a tough first three quarters, Deloraine were a couple of goals down at the final break. And after a passionate speech, Jason Gibson set up this inspirational goal. Kent Tyson kept working tirelessly through the middle, and our mate Craig Lovell was still working hard for Deloraine. But there was one player who stood in Deloraine's way. Son of former Launceston great Robert Dutton, young Craig took mark after mark in the final quarter. In fact, I've never seen a player take so many good pressure marks in one quarter of footy. So much so that perhaps Matty Armstrong's search for a centre-half forward may end its journey next year at Windsor Park. While the mullet stood on end, Dutton lined up to put this goal through, which saw Launceston home comfortably by 4 goals. What do you think was the turning point in the last quarter? It could have gone either way.
Yeah, like you say, I think the turning point, obviously Dutton was good up forward, but they had some good backs, they had their good midfielders. I think they won the harder ball in the finish, and I thought that was the turning point in the centre of the ground. They won the harder ball and got the supply, so harder at it, mate.
Disappointing?
Very disappointed, yeah. Today was a crunch game for us. We really needed to win 6 or 7 of our last 9 games to make the 5, and it's going to make it really difficult now, so we're going to have to beat a lot of teams above us, so yeah, very disappointing for the club.
With the game over, all that was left was to find the story behind the man underneath the mullet. The haircut. What's going to happen?
What's wrong with the haircut?
Nothing wrong at all, but is it true that you're forming a sort of a band, an 80s band?
No, it's not. It's not. Listen, the money, the hair is going if the club can raise $1,000, and the hair will go. But the Leicester folding stuff crosses me palm. No, it won't. No, it won't. Yeah. I don't know they'll cut this yet. You're a
Now, I know you've all been thinking, where's the taste test? Why didn't he go into the canteen? Well, the reason is that we've been invited to the Empire Brasserie here in Deloraine to do a taste test. The produce, it's all locally Tasmanian
grown
grown.
and Tasmanian.
Fantastic. You've got oysters, there's mussels, but I believe the specialty...
mussels, the venison.
Yep.
It's there's a deer farm about 20 minutes from here at Mole Creek called Springfield.
Yep.
And that's where he grows it, and it comes in fresh whenever I want it. So it's great.
The idea to make venison spring rolls, where did that come from?
Well, obviously the guy that I buy it from came up with it, and they're just huge sellers. People just love them.
Fantastic. This is a totally unique experience, Marie. Usually I'm having a sav at about this time, but today, at the Empire Brasserie in Deloraine, I am going to do a taste test on the venison spring roll. Here we go. That's fantastic.
You don't need sauce?
Well, I don't know that it needs sauce. In fact, I give that 9.1 out of 10.
Game Deloraine, win or lose, it's not the same, for we are wearing the blue and white. It takes it. And they'll always remember the boys from Deloraine. Play again, Deloraine. We've got better voices than mine.
We are wearing the blue